Today's faction focus is on the Tau Empire, and I got some mixed feelings. Let's take a look. Their army rule is, for the greater good. It's quite the block of text, defining terms and the function of units taking the roles of observer, guided, and spotted, but essentially it works like this. In your shooting phase, when you activate a unit to shoot, you can select another Tau unit which is eligible to shoot to serve as its observer, making that first unit guided. Then you select a target visible to both units, which is considered the spotted unit. Then, when a guided unit fires on a spotted unit, it has an improved ballistic skill by 1. And if the observer has the marker-like keyword, the guided unit's attacks ignore cover. But when a guided unit doesn't attack the spotted unit, their ballistic skill is worsened by 1, essentially discouraging split fire. And the article's text explains that the observing units can still shoot as normal. This new incarnation of the greater good is an interesting system. It certainly provides a valuable perk, as increases to skill are typically better than modifiers to hit. And it's cleaner, no longer requiring the Tau player to bring the right amount of marker lights, and removing the whole marker light phase that preempted the Tau's shooting phase. Instead, it now simply uses one unit to increase the skill of another. Their detachment rule is Kauyon, and this is where my feelings get a little muddled. Not for the perk itself, as I rate it as a win. The 9th edition Kauyon functioned adequately enough, and this only seems better. They both provide perks which come into effect on the 3rd battle round onwards, but instead of having your exploding hits on 6s, then 5 pluses, and then 4 pluses by battle round 5, exploding hits on 6s is retained through the sustained hits 1 ability, which is bumped up to sustained hits 2 on a unit which is guided. So effectively, you can now squeeze more juice from Kauyon immediately on battle round 3, which better represents the "now we strike" aspect of Kauyon than the slow escalation of efficiency as per its 9th edition version. And while the ability itself no longer grants you fall back and shoot, I suspect the Kauyon detachment has worked that in elsewhere. As for the reason this doesn't spark a whole lot of joy for me, is that this seems to indicate that GW is not caring about Tau's sub-factions themselves when designing their detachments. We have here the Kauyon Detachment, one of 2 of the Tau's famous combat philosophies. So then what? Tau get a Montclair detachment? 2 detachments for Tau? Maybe an extra one for Farsight? Perhaps my scope around the design space this affords is lacking, but it suggests to me that GW isn't planning to provide any sub-faction support via detachments, at least not for the Tau. Just adding a bit of context post-editing. What I mean to say is, GW doesn't seem to be directly supporting the various Tau Sept sub-factions. Your Daliths, Viorlas, Borkans, etc. I am aware each Tau Sept more or less favors one of the combat philosophies, and in that sense your dudes will still have a detachment which suits them. The Sisters of Battles, our martyred lady-inspired detachment, did foster some hope that perhaps sub-factions would be represented in all but name, but now I'm inclined to suspect each army in 10th edition may only have 3 to 4 detachments, and will be in a use whatever rules best fit your dudes type of scenario.
How can this be for the greater good?
In the unit spotlight, we don't have an emblematic battle line unit. Instead, we have a Pathfinder team. Their stat line seems more or less where I expected it would sit, though the save characteristic of 4+ did catch me off guard a little bit. Their weapons seem to follow the trend that we've seen with other infantry units which have been previewed, where the only weapons that can output more than 1 damage are the ones limited to specialists in the unit. Though the adjustment of the semi-auto grenade launcher has come out looking good. Scoring critical wounds on a 4+ against vehicles will deal 3 mortal wounds. Looking at their abilities, the Pathfinder team retains its 7-inch scout move, and their unique ability, Target Upload, allows it to be an observer twice in a single turn. And they have a bevy of war gear abilities which are all based on accompanying drones. Grav Inhibitor subtracts 2 from charge rolls made against them. The Pulse Accelerator drone increases the range of their pulse carbines by 6 inches. And the Recon drone provides the unit with a drone burst cannon, and gives the bearer the Infiltrator's ability. Pathfinders being able to deploy outside their deployment zone and utilize a pre-game move is indeed worthy of the Pathfinder role. I like it. We then get a unique component on preview where we're shown various drone types. The article notes that drones function effectively as tokens which provide effects to the units they're attached to, which removes the positioning jank associated with drone spam we've seen over the years. Certainly better for game health, though I hope you can still take a unit of drones for narrative and thematic purposes. Anyways, Guardian drones now subtract 1 from wound rolls against its unit, which while good, is certainly healthier than the 4-up invulnerable save it offered in 9th. The gun drone does its gun drone thing. The marker drone gives its unit the marker-like keyword, and allows them to act as an observer even if they advanced, which is now a utility which feels worthwhile. The missile drone has a missile pod, and the shield drone now adds 1 to the bearer's wounds characteristic. Based on the wording of these drones' abilities, it sounds like models within units can be equipped with a drone, so throwing a few shield drones into a unit can provide some useful durability, especially with regards to target allocation of damage that would kill some models but not others. In the weapon spotlight, we got the railgun. The signature big gun for the Hammerhead has come out alright. It sports a similar profile to the Votan's heavy Magna Rail cannon, however it's got loads more range, and strength and AP. And with For the Greater Good, it should be easy enough to get this thing to a 3-up ballistic skill, which if it then stands still, it will then hit on 2 since it's heavy. Not bad at all. We also got the Storm Surge's Pulse Blast Cannon. The dispersed shot is mostly the same, barring a drop of 2 points of strength, but the focus profile has gone way up, 8 points of strength from 16 to 24, and 2 pips of AP now at a deadly -6. And in the Stratagem Spotlight, we got something pretty unique. Combat Embarkation is a 1 command point Kauyon stratagem, allowing a unit which was charged to just get in a transport. Your opponent is then free to select a new target to charge. I'm all for rules which add further value to transports, and this one adds even more interplay between units, which I think is a good thing. As for its practical usefulness, it could be a huge boon against a melee unit which is trying to charge onto an objective occupied by your infantry. And while that transport must be within 3 inches of that infantry unit, adding 3 inches to an enemy's charge while also keeping your melee vulnerable infantry safe is not insignificant. And that wraps up this preview. I thought it was pretty mediocre. Not that I mean Tau don't look good, I think they are looking rather sporting. I just mean with regards to contextualizing our understanding of the faction. Army and detachment rules which were shown are fundamental, but I feel not seeing the emblematic battle line strike team, or the big cheese herself Shadow Sun, or any leader type unit for that matter, makes it harder to grasp how the synergy of the Tau's cooperation is supposed to function. 6 out of 10. But I want to hear from you, and especially the Tau players out there. What did you think of this faction focus?